Said Hutsy Putsy Potato. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our 11th week of the question of the day. This week, we have a very special question, a very intimate question. For this week's The Game Huggers Weekly Question of the Day. Thank you so much for listening. If you're listening on Podomatic, these podcasts will be going live very soon in June. And if you're listening to Podomatic, you already know that because this is 11 weeks of it. So I don't know why I'm saying that. But if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Twitch and you'd love to get these in like a podcast feed or you'd like to consume them audio only, we can totally do that. Just check us out, podomatic.com/gamehuggers, I believe is what it's going to be under. Game Huggers and the Game Humps, the Wednesday night Game Humps. We used to do those, man, from like 2015 all the way to 2018. It was a weekly podcast that kind of just fizzled out. But that's okay. Things come, easy go, as they say. But we're back, and now we've got the question of the day, and it's been a really fun trip so far. And we've got a few people that have good music on that podcast. That's true. We did have some good music on that podcast. Oh, yeah. There is some good music. What do you think of the intro and the outros? Those are pretty sexy, aren't they? We got a really talented musician who made some good music for that. And I'm sure he's credited in the information link. I don't know why I'm pointing because it's a podcast and you can only hear me, but I'll put the information up there. Anyway, let's hit the phone lines. We got a few callers waiting on the line to leave us messages. Here is this week's question of the day. Have you ever stood in line waiting for a midnight release? If so, tell us a story about it. That's it. Midnight releases. And I know that usually, given the fact that this is the Game Huggers podcast and or Joshua Turbo where we play a lot of games, obviously it's going to be game related. But you stood in line for World of Warcraft. That's friggin' awesome, Drano. But I will say, standing in line for anything is fine. Standing in line for a midnight release of a movie, a phone. Apple has those things where people stand in lines for like 2.5 days waiting for their stupid new releases of phones. But yes, you got a story to share. Let's hear it. We're going to hit the phone lines. All right. Is this going to look the same, though? No, it's not, is it? It's really stupid. All right, let's hit the phone lines. I don't know how to do this. I'll try it this way. Okay. Okay, we'll just do this. There we go. Is it bad that the only thing I really remember about World of Warcraft was killing boars? Classic. Oh, shoot. Oh, maybe I got another one here. All right. We'll start on our quest to listen to voice messages. Remember, the question of the day is, you ever stood in line for something? If so, tell us a story about it. Stood in line for midnight releases or whatever. All right, here we go. We'll start with this LMAO.
My answer to the weekly question of the day is not exactly a midnight release, but kind of the anti-midnight release when everybody had showed up to get the Nintendo Wii and they were sold out everywhere. On a random Sunday morning, I went to Best Buy, grabbed one, purchased it, and walked out the store. They were sold out everywhere. There were portals online that were like alerting people when, they were in stock any place, and I just waltzed in and grabbed one. So, pretty uneventful, but it also made my year because the Nintendo Wii was amazing.
Agreed. I absolutely agree. The Wii had such a cool concept, and it was a very different experience, right? It wasn't like a GameCube 2. It wasn't like a more popular or powerful GameCube. It was its own thing. It was a completely different experience, and for a while, it was one of the coolest gaming concepts ever. It did kind of wear out its welcome. Not necessarily a fan of waggle controls, but man, the Nintendo Wii is my story as well. I've stood in line for other game systems before. The two main ones that I remember is the Sega Dreamcast on September 9th of 1999, 9/9/99. That was a really good experience, but it wasn't as long because they did pre-orders for them, and I just pre-ordered it, and that was at a GameStop, which is weird. In 1999, they did a pre-order for Dreamcast, but in 2006, everywhere did pre-orders, and I just assumed I was not going to get one. The day before it was released, we happened to go to a Walmart, and I saw two guys standing outside, and this was 10 a.m. There's two guys standing outside, and they were just kind of camping out there. And when I walked past, and I saw a couple of Walmart employees standing there, and I said, "What's this for?" And they're like, "Oh, the Nintendo Wii releases tonight." And I was like, "Oh my god." Um, love the waggle controls. Yeah, I mean, there's some great motion control games for sure. I love them. But and initially I loved the waggle controls. I loved Wii Sports. I honestly think Wii Sports is the best Wii game ever. It's so fun. But when we got to Walmart and asked about that, I kind of looked at, who I was with at the time. I said, I think I'm going to get in line. I asked the Walmart employee, how many Wii's they got. They said 48, and I could have been like number 5 in line. And I'm like, I think this is where I'm going to do. I'm going to hang out here. And it was so cold. Oh, it was so cold. But yeah, I got in line, sat there from 10:30 a.m. all the way until midnight. It was cold, but it was worth it. I got home and I played Twilight Princess because I picked that up too. I played Wii Sports. It was freaking awesome. It was insane. I was broke and couldn't afford it, but I got it. Hey, kind of similar story. I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't pre-order it, because I just didn't have the cash. But for some reason, the day that it came out was November 12th or something like that. But yeah, crazy, crazy freaking situation. All right, so Ring Fit Runner, thank you so much for your contributions. All right, let's go to our next caller. Let's go to the next caller.
The only midnight release that I stood in line for was when I had Dork Fathers and we had the rental of like PlayStations and Xboxes per hour, and Rock Band released for the first time ever. So, and that, because we had Guitar Hero already, but Rock Band, you got the drums and all that, and a bunch of us went down to the Wausau Walmart and stood in line and got it and took it back, and we played for hours. And afterwards, it was a good time. So
good time, dude. Dork Fathers for a long time. There's actually a good backstory to Dork Fathers, and honestly, if Dork Father's up for it, my good friend Ryan, if he's ever up for it, we could do a stream and just chat about those days in gaming. I think we got a lot of stories that we could share, and interesting stories too, because for a smidgen of time there, we were somewhat rivals, even though I never even got to a point of being considered a rival. But in my own head, I was a little bit. But I had a games shop in this silly little town of Merrill as well. But like when Dork Fathers was in its heyday, I actually lived very close in proximity to that, and I remember coming to Dork Fathers all the time. My 2 older boys, Austin and Xander, would love to sit and play games there for an hour or two. And I remember, I think Dork Fathers had like an all-day pass. Maybe it was $10 a day or something like that. Maybe it was $5 a day. I don't remember, but they were just like, "Dad, can I have $5 and go play Call of Duty?" And I was like, "There you go." So they just go across the street and go play at Dork Fathers all day. It was a good time, good times, and it's really cool too that they did a midnight release for Rock Band. That's awesome. One of my favorite experiences during that same exact time was going to see Lord of the Rings, the midnight showing. I did Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, and the Two Towers midnight releases. I did not do a midnight release for Return of the King though. That one I went to. I think it was the night it released or whatever. But yeah, it was fun. What's your favorite game on SNES so far? Wow, that's an interesting question. Oh wow, my favorite game on Super Nintendo? Man, Jay Bowski and Dennis started that shit. Oh yeah, Denny. Yeah, that's true. How's it going, Superstar? Thank you for joining us. Oh man, favorite Super Nintendo game so far? That's a hard question. That's a really hard question. I mean, it depends on the weather, depends on the day, depends on the time of the day. It's all over the place. Sometimes it's Secret of Mana, sometimes it's Link to the Past, sometimes it's Super Mario World, sometimes it's Gradius 3. There's just so many great games on it. Castlevania 4, Ninja Turtles 4. Oh, Goose. Holy monkey tits. All right, thank you so much, Dork Father. We'll keep on going. Sometimes it's your mom. Sometimes it's Joe Mama. All right, one of those people. Up next, let's get to the next caller.
My fond memories were the Halo releases. Like, those were crazy. Just standing in line, everyone talking about Master Chief and what to look for and what to expect. And I never did many more besides maybe one World of Warcraft or
Warcraft
Call
again.
of Duty, but I remember the Halo releases were so much fun. Nobody was fighting, everyone was just reveling in the the magnificence of Halo, and it was great, and I miss it. But I also don't miss it because I'm old and I like to sleep around 9 or 10 o'clock. So
Hilarious. I am curious about those kind of things now too, though, because like everybody was talking about the new Zelda, Tears for the Kingdom or Tears of the Kingdom, and then that that release came out, and everyone was kind of chomping at the bit. Nintendo, if you did a digital only version of it, Nintendo allowed, um, Nintendo allowed for people to download the entire game digitally, but you couldn't start playing it until the day of release, which I assume was midnight. So I mean, you could sit there with your Switch just waiting for midnight to hit, and then finally load the game and be like, "We're playing Tears of the Kingdom." Like no waiting in line, no nothing. I mean, it's gonna be awesome. I mean, it's gonna be awesome. It must be awesome to do it either way. And I guess there is some camaraderie missed a little bit with the whole waiting in line for a midnight release like that, because games digitally now, if they're released, you just download it, whatever. But yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting. I agree though. It's nice to get in bed at a decent time, not staying up until midnight for a midnight release. I remember when I got the Wii and I got it home and I got it all hooked up and was playing around with it. It was like 6 in the morning before I finally went to bed. It's a good experience. I liked Zelda, and the thing is, I played Twilight Princess for probably an hour or two, and I was like, "This is really cool." But man, Wii Sports, bowling, and tennis, fucking spectacular. Best Wii game is Wii Sports. All right, let's get to the next caller.
Hey, this is John, Gamester81, and yeah, I've done quite a few midnight release events in my years for gaming, of course. One that comes to mind is the classic Dreamcast, 1999 at Walmart to the midnight release. Picked up the Dreamcast, picked up Sonic Adventure, I believe, with it as well, and just fell in love with the system. Still love the system as well, but yeah, a lot of fun memories going to Walmart at midnight and picking it up. Good times.
Yeah, that's the other story I really have as far as a console release that I waited for on launch day was the Sega Dreamcast, and that probably is my favorite. Man, such a crazy time, and it's really weird too because that night for the Sega Dreamcast release, there was a lot of people in the same line with me that have stories to share about that. If you know John at all from Mojo Menace, he and I used to do the Mojo Weekly podcast. We ran it, I think, 80 weeks in a row without missing a beat at one point. So it was like a year and a half. Anyway, we talked about that. We waited in the same line for the Sega Dreamcast, but we didn't know each other. It's a bizarre story. We technically were friends, but we never met. And we didn't know what each other looked like. And we were in the same line for the Sega Dreamcast on September 9th of 1999. Bizarre story. But I came home with the Dreamcast that day. I had Hydro Thunder, I had Sonic Adventure, Hydro Thunder, Sonic Adventure, NFL 2K. I think that was it. Oh no, oh Jesus, no. Soul Calibur, Hydro Thunder, Sonic Adventure, NFL 2K. 4 games and a Sega Dreamcast. I came home with some of the best games ever made. Waiting in line with John from Mojo Menace. Was it love at first sight, or did he steal your spot in the queue? All we know, we all know Wii Sports is a game changer. All right, let's get to the next caller.
Hello, Alex here from the City with a Point, and I am here to tell you about the time that I went and spent an entire evening waiting for a video game release. I haven't
Boy.
done this a lot, but the one that sticks out for me is in 2005. It was January 10th to the 11th. There was a big release slated for the video game Mercenaries on the PlayStation 2. This was the Pandemic Studios third-person shooter where you kind of played GTA in a World War III-esque scenario where you were in North Korea. It was a brilliant game. Played the demo disc to death, and I knew I had to have this game as soon as I could get my hands on it. So on at midnight on January 11th. Well, the day when it turned over the next day there at Walmart. I handed over my $70 and bought it then and there, and I have played that game, oh my gosh, so many times. It is a lot of fun. Certainly have been better things since then, but at the time that was just, it was so much fun. This just wild action game that was just completely over the top crazy. And that was so much fun because I was there with some friends and we had like smuggled food into the Walmart. It was great. It was awesome. And the employees there were just like, oh, great, because we were pretty much the only ones waiting for this game. So it was a lot of fun then. And I miss Walmart being 24 hours. But that's a story for another day. Thanks so much for the great question, and catch you on the next one.
That is awesome. So that was actually Alex from the Wisconsin Computer Club. Alex is one of our hugest contributors to the video game areas within EverCon and soon to be Lincoln. So actually, thank you so much for that message. That is awesome. I don't think I've ever played a Mercenaries game, like ever. I'm not a big first-person shooter guy, and I'm not a big strategy war guy, so I don't know much about it. But thank you so much. I appreciate the message. All right, let's get to the next caller. Next caller.
So I've done a lot of midnight launches. First of all, when I was in right after I graduated college, it was kind of in the middle of like that last big recession, 08, 09. And so I worked at GameStop for a while because I couldn't find anything when I graduated. And I worked a lot of midnight launches. I specifically remember Skyrim's back then. A couple game consoles. I did the PS4 launch. Those were always fun to do, I think, as an employee. Kind of hated my job otherwise, but the launches were fun. We got to like plan events and stuff and everything around it. But really, as a fan and as a gamer, the ones that stick out most in my mind were for Nintendo consoles. It wasn't really a midnight launch, but I stood in line a few hours before Walmart opened to get a GameCube back when that launched on launch day, which was the first console I bought with my own money when I was in high school. And then after that, I stood in line, I think when I was in college, for about 36 hours for the Wii. Because as I'm sure you remember, those things were impossible to find after launch.
Yeah.
So the Walmart down the street from us in Arizona, which is where I went to college, was doing a midnight launch on the day of the Wii launch, but people were lining up super early. So like I said, I got there like 32 or 36 hours before the midnight launch, and I was like 25th or 30th in line. So like people were lined up super early, and it was crazy, but the experience was fun. Like, I mean, I didn't sleep that entire time, so I was like exhausted by the end of it, but people were like, brought like chairs to camp out and stuff. A lot of people brought like GameCube with Smash Brothers Melee hooked up, and we were playing Melee outside. So it was a good time. Like that was really memorable. You don't really see. I mean, you're waiting in line that long. People try to make it fun, but yeah, I'll never do that again.
Oh my gosh, dude. A lot of Walmart stories, and actually that is the same thing that I've seen in the past, where people had like a tent that they had set up, and they did bring Smash Brothers and a Nintendo GameCube, and they were playing that stuff, and everybody's getting excited. Oh, jeez, now I'm dropping shit. But that was our awesome friend Chris Bossard it, or the boss, Chris Boss. Thank you so much. I'm gonna go to a new caller, and I've not listened to this. I actually haven't pre-screened hardly any of these, but let me get to this one real quick. And away we go.
Are we doing this 2 weeks in a row? This is what you just sent me 7 days ago, my brother. I have never been to a midnight release of a console or a game. It's something that I feel like I have really missed out on my life. There hasn't been a game yet that I've really wanted a midnight release. It's something that's difficult about the world that's changing now with the digital downloads and stuff, right? Like I was pretty excited for Tears of the Kingdom to come out, but I can just download that right on my Switch. I don't have to stand in line at Target or GameStop. Not that wouldn't be fun, but it's really wholly unnecessary now, which is a big change in the gaming market because I think that aspect would be really fun and something that I have missed out on in my life a little bit. The only midnight releases that I've ever been to was to see Harry Potter, the movie extravaganza, 6, 7 part 1 and part 2. I saw all of those midnight releases at the theater. I also did go to a midnight release at Barnes & Noble when Goblet of Fire came out as a book. Those are the only midnight releases I have ever experienced in my life. I hope that I have the opportunity and the medium presents itself that I could do the same thing with a video game someday.
You know, interestingly, speaking of Harry Potter, I've never stood in line for a book. That I think actually would be a lot of fun to do. But the Harry Potter story, like a side story, I think it was a play that was written. I don't recall what it was called, and I apologize for that. But the local bookstore in town here, when it was open, it's actually closed now. We don't have any bookstores in Maryland anymore. But when it was open, did a midnight release for a book, a side story of the Harry Potter saga. And it was also, they gave away a free wand if you got there at midnight. And I remember I got there and there was like 4 other people. Like there literally was nobody. And they had like 100 wands and 100 books. And so it wasn't actually that much necessity to get there at midnight, but I thought it'd be really cool to do it. And so I did that. And yeah, it was kind of cool. That was probably the most recent thing I've done. People in Merrill can't read. Can't read. I was born to lead, not to read. All right, let's get to the next caller. Thank you very much. That was our good friend Jacob, by the way.
Yeah, hi, this is the Silver Screen's Billy Crystal coming at you again. Got a little story about waiting in line for stuff, and it wasn't no video games, because we didn't really have the little midnight releases when I was coming up. But here's a great story. I'm sure you've heard of TV's Danny DeVito, King Arthur. Well, one time when we were in college, I made him wait in line for tickets to Star Wars Episode 1 for midnight. We told the professor that, yeah, he had a big old family emergency, but guess what the TV stations did? Because I'm Billy Crystal. They had cameras there, and Danny DeVito got discovered and flunked college. Cripes! Go see Ice Cube Mania coming out in your friendly local theater soon. This is Billy Crystal.
So, why does he sound like Shake from Aqua Teen Hunger Force? It gets better and better every fucking time. Billy Crystal sounds like his foot is caught in a bear trap. Ow! Goddamn, is that funny? That was brilliant. Oh my God. Thank you so much for calling in, Billy Crystal. I appreciate you so much. Oh, do I appreciate you. All right, let's get to the next caller.
I've only participated in a count on one hand amount of times for a midnight release, always for a console, never for a video game. One of my favorite memories, though, is when the 3DS was released. I was really excited for it because I would see the pictures and they would talk about it and hype it up, but you couldn't see it in 3D unless you saw it in real life. You know, like the magazines and stuff or videos couldn't show you the device in 3D, just with how the 3D works. So as part of the midnight release, it was at Walmart, of all places, because they were a 24/7 Walmart. I was there with one other person. And then midnight rolls around, 12:05, 12:10, 12:15, nothing. Until the other guy was like, hey, are you going to put out the 3DS? And they're like, what's that? The people who worked there at the time didn't even know that there was a midnight release. So they went in the back room and they came back and they're like, oh, you mean these things? And they're like, yeah, those. Can I buy one of those, please? And maybe a couple games for it? So that was one of my favorite times with those midnight releases, and only done a couple others after that.
That is crazy. I actually remember when the 3DS came out. It was released, I think, the same weekend as the Midwest Gaming Classic. And you'll have to forgive me which year it was. I think it might have been 2015 or 2016. No. Yeah, it was either 2015 or 2016. Again, another story of Walmart. Holy shit. But I remember a couple guys were at MGC and they talked about the 3DS launch, or maybe it was launched before that. Maybe it was like a month or two before that. I guess I don't remember anymore. But that was like the hot topic, and everybody was talking about it. Oh yeah, you need to get a 3DS, you need to work, whatever. And they were like, brought it to the they brought it to the convention and were showing it off and stuff, and it looked freaking fantastic. But like, and by the way, that was our good friend John Blue Riggs or John Riggs, YouTuber, Twitch streamer, local gamer celebrity guy. He gets to do guest appearances at places like MGC and places like Retropalooza and other gaming conventions. So if you know who John is, you got to give him a like, got to give him a follow. He's freaking awesome. Great guy. And thank you so much. Him and Gamester81 taking time out of their busy schedules to like chat with us and call in is freaking spectacular. So yeah, crazy. All right, let's get to the next caller.
Josh, so thought about your question. I never stood in line. Sorry about that, messages. For a midnight release, but honorable mentions. I waited in line on the morning of September 9th, 1999, with a bunch of other gamers waiting to pick up their Sega Dreamcast, brand new. I still have it. That very one, but I don't know where the box is. I think it got thrown away.
Oh,
but yeah, I still have my $99.99 Dreamcast. The
nice.
other one would have been, and this is both at the Electronics Boutique that was at Castleton Mall in Indy. So, and this next one took place at the same spot just a year or two earlier. It would have been the pre-order. We we waited in line for it too. The pre-order for Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And I think we did one at the same store again for the Nintendo 64. So no midnight releases, but all pre-order, waiting in line. This is pre-internet, so all of the hype and excitement building for this stuff was just nothing. You know, it was only the magazines, Electronic Gaming Monthly would have been getting us all hyped up for this stuff. So to finally get to play it for reals, those mornings was something I'll never forget. So those are my memories of standing in line. Thanks.
That's awesome. So that was our good friend Matthias, one of the many contributors to the Midwest Gaming Classic. Oh, the Wii was the biggest midnight release I remember. Hello, welcome, Dragon Master Dan. Good to see you. Yeah, the Wii, Dreamcast, those are the two big ones that I recall. The Dreamcast launch was so fun. Same stories, same thing. It was just the hype was out of this world. And you know, Sega was such a big player, obviously, for so long. Master System, Genesis, and then the Saturn. You know, I love them. I love my Saturn. That's my favorite Sega console. But like, you know, in the U.S. from like 97 and 98, we were getting like barely any software release. So when Sega had the Dreamcast and it had a launch of like, I don't remember how many games it was, but it felt like 16 games or something like crazy. You worked for the Sega fan site on the $99.99 Dreamcast launch. Dude, that's such a big deal. It was such a big deal. It was like Sega's back, and the game's fucking rocked. I mean, Soul Calibur, Sonic Adventure, NFL 2K. I had Hydro Thunder. I liked Hydro Thunder too. Those games were so good. Oh, such a good launch. It was such a great launch. But yeah. All right, let's get to the next caller, shall we?
Hey, Josh. This is pretty off the cuff here. It's pretty late. I think it's about midnight. I'm actually hiding in a hole right now. So if you hear anything, just let me know, okay? Oh, wait, this is a voice message, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh, Jesus.
Anyway, I want you to know that I'm fine for now. I haven't showered in a few days. Sorry, I thought I heard something. Shh. Okay, I'm gonna make this quick. A midnight release? I'll just give you the last one that I did. Okay? I stood in line. Okay, good. I stood in line at GameStop. And I was there for the midnight release of the Wii. The Nintendo Wii. And let me tell you, that was a waste of time. Seriously. Oh, I gotta be quiet. but that
That's
was a
awesome.
waste of time. It was fun for like 2 months, but I just didn't get into anything. I even tried, what was it, Twilight Princess? Yeah, it was the Zelda game Twilight Princess. I'm sure it was great, but I only had the joystick and the nunchuck, and it just wasn't that wonderful. Or the Wii controller, whatever it's called. Anyway, that was the last thing I did a midnight release for. It's kind of depressing, but I just remember it's for me, it's the feeling of new opportunities, new experiences, and the feeling of wonder, especially with the new game system. Because, I mean, I was there for the GameCube. I was there for, well, actually, that's the last thing I remember. Apparently Nintendo has had a good hold on me. Anyway, that's very true. Anyway, so yeah, the Nintendo Wii was the last thing. And yeah, like I said, sense of wonder, new possibilities with the new system. With Nintendo, I don't think you can really expect like high-powered things, but you can certainly expect like fun, joyful, just creative games. But that's about it. Okay. Hold on. All right, I gotta move. So I will check back in with you later. Hopefully I can do that. But I gotta go. Okay, bye.
That is our good friend Jake, or Captain Coleslaw. I think I'm a little concerned about him. Not so much because he's been kidnapped for about 10 weeks now, but because he didn't like the Nintendo Wii? What the hell? I'm kidding. I honestly do get the Nintendo Wii hate. I do. It is not for everybody. It was a very different. Whoever ASMR whispered their answers was a little off. Was a lot of bit off. But yeah. Yeah. It's a weird console, weird time in gaming. The Twilight Princess was very similar to Breath of the Wild in some respects, because Breath of the Wild was being developed for the Nintendo Wii U for a long time. And it released on the Wii U and on the Switch. Whereas Twilight Princess was being developed for the GameCube. And the GameCube version released the same time, or maybe it was actually released like a couple weeks after the Wii version. Like the Wii was the first one to get released, but the GameCube one was also finished, but it was just released later. I've heard a lot of people really enjoy the GameCube version of Twilight Princess as well, and it doesn't have any waggle controls, it's just a controller. So depends on what your preferences are. Both games are just fine. The Wii is a console with a lot of good games, but it also had near record levels of shovelware that diluted the market and any semblance of value to the Nintendo seal of quality. The GameCube one came out a few weeks later. Yeah, it's true. And if you think about it, if 90% of the Wii games that came out are shovelware, and there's over 1,000 games that came out for it, that means there's 100 really good Wii games. And out of those 100 really good Wii games, there's at least 25 to 50 excellent games. And that's where I look at it as far as the Nintendo Wii. I have a collection of, I think, about 15 to 20 games, and I really enjoy those games. Those games are fantastic. So it depends. It depends on what your preferences are. Some people like the wiggle controls. Some people don't. It's okay. It's not for everybody. But it was one of the most best-selling consoles of all time. And it's really cool, too, that a lot of people have had their last memories of a midnight release were freaking the Nintendo Wii. It's true. That's when I did. I did the Dreamcast and the Wii, and I think that's about it. So 1,640 Wii releases. Now, does that include WiiWare games? I don't think it would include virtual console games. That's probably another 1,600 games. But like, there's a lot of good or decent games, but a lot of crap too. And trust me, I know there's a lot of crap. The Wii was full of just junk. But all right, let's get to the next caller.
Hello there, hello, hi, this is Sheila. Long-time listener, first-time caller again, answering the weekly question of the day for the week. Let me see, midnight releases for games. I haven't done one of those in a long time, because I usually don't make it past 10, because my magnesium kicks in, and I'm cuddling with my cats, and on my sleeper sofa. Which is nice, by the way. You guys don't care about that. So, let's see, I believe it was 1981, camped out in our lawn chairs, just me and the Goyles, outside of a Sears Roebuck store. Tommy Monaghan was there, and he was really hot. And we tried to impress him by smoking filterless cigarettes, and I think he really liked us too, but I'm not sure. But Centipede was a great game.
Centipede was a great game.
So I think that's all I got. Okay, how do I turn this off? How do I do? Okay.
Oh man, the sleeper sofa. I can't stay up past 10 because of my magnesium. Jesus Christ. Thank you for calling, Sheila. I really appreciate that. How's Teresa? Maybe next week we can get Sheila and Teresa to come and call us in simultaneously on the same phone call. I think that'd be wonderful. We'd like to do that. Linda from Bob's Burgers makes a good caller. Oh, shit. Loosen up your tongue so we can understand you better. What are you talking about? We're not even talking about Genjin 2. All right. Let's do this. We've got, I think, one more caller. And here we go.
Hey, everybody. This is your glam god of indie wrestling, Xavier Michaels. Well, for tonight, we're going to drop that, and I'm just going to speak to you as Jay Johnston. And I want to tell you a little story about what true heroes are. And I've chosen two storylines that you guys are all probably pretty familiar with. Lord of the Rings, the original Star Wars. Of course, in those two stories, Frodo, Luke Skywalker, they get all the credit for doing the monumental task, the hero's journey. But you want to know who the true heroes of these stories are? They're guys like Samwise Gamgee, who carried that short little fucker up a mountain when he couldn't do it anymore. Or Han Solo, who blew up a bunker and made out with Luke's sister just so that the Alliance could win. I have a similar story, man. Like, a lot of good things have come my way. I'm blessed with everything that's happened to me on the wrestling circuit. And the one person responsible, my Samwise, my Han Solo, is Joshua Turbo. The guy who's always supported me, even when I was down. Like, I'm talking friends down. I'll be straight with you. Like, dark shit. Joshua always brought me up, man. This program, I love watching Josh's sense of humor. In fact, Josh is the one who came up with the Glam God gimmick. So I owe this Mama Jamma a lot. I love you, bro. This program is awesome. And just remember, you can always blow up the bunker, but do not ever make out with my twin sister, because I will.
She has a twin sister? Oh my God, dude. That was incredibly nice. I love you too. I love all of you guys. That was incredibly nice, and I'm glad to hear. Josh looks like if they made him hipster Mr. Potato Head. Yeah, it's guy love. Love between two guys. There's nothing gay about it. Well, maybe a scotch. But, anywho, thank you, Superstar Xavier Michaels /J. I really appreciate that call. That was actually very, very nice. It's good. It's good to hear stuff like that. It's good to remind yourself and all your friends that, they're important to you. I'm cool. It's cool that he thinks of me as his Han Solo. I'm a little surprised he didn't say I was his Chewbacca to his Han Solo. Sugar Mr. Dan, funny story. I once made a Josh Mr. Potato Head and sent him a video of it real life. Oh, God. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate all of you callers. I appreciate all the chatter. Thank you guys so much. You guys are amazing. Joshua's been promoted to Han Solo. Excellent. I am Joshua Solo. But I really appreciate all the callers. Thank you so much for this week's question of the day. We had a good time. We have such a good time. Everyone's having a wonderful time. Good stuff. Good times. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. And we'll be back next week for another question of the day. It'll be our 12th weekly question of the day here on the Game Huggers podcasting universe. So thank you guys so much. Peace out, E5000. Love you guys. Bye.